So let us start a new topic and the final topic of this course of BCom Honors Semester 3. Leading cases of Supreme Court. In our course of Delhi University BCom Honors Semester 3, 6 cases are written in the course which students should study, which students are aware of. So let me share those cases from my book directly, because reading the original cases is very lengthy. In reality, you must try to read those original cases. You will get to know how Supreme Court writes the judgment, what languages are used, how they critically analyze the statements. So it's good for learning. But since these are very lengthy and because of time paucity, let me discuss those in simplified form with the help of my book. Let me discuss those 6 cases. Can you see this PDF file? Is it visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let me discuss case number one case. Let me discuss this case first. This is the case of Philip John Plaskett Thomas versus CIT, Commissioner of Income Tax, 1963 ruling of Honorable Supreme Court. 49 ITR. ITR is a magazine, Income Tax Reporter, page number 97, 49th issue. Philip John Plaskett Thomas versus CIT 1963, volume 49, ITR, page number 97, Supreme Court decided in favor of the assessor. So what was this case? Now see the fact of the case. Philip was a person who was the owner of some shares. Like I am Philip. I have some shares. Philip got engaged to Miss Judith Knight, and news of this engagement came in the newspaper on 3rd September 1947. Now, can you say that on 3rd September 1947 these are husband and wife? Answer is no, because still marriage has not taken place, only engagement was done. After 2 to 3 months, around on 10 December 47, Philip and Judith made an application to the company to transfer the shares of Miss Judith, and the company registered Miss Judith as the owner of these shares. Transfer the shares to, rather than of, please make the correction, it is to. Philip was the owner, and Philip made an application on 10th Jan to the company that you please transfer these shares to Miss Judith. Okay, it is to. Of to. Company did so on which date? 15th December. Within 5 days, company transferred the shares of Philip to Judith. Now legally they are not husband and wife on the date of transfer, because only engagement was done, not the marriage took place. What department did? Income tax department, they applied clubbing. And they said that dividend income on the shares earned by Judith is taxable in the hands of the Philip. If you remember clubbing provision section 64 subsection 1 clause 4, where asset is transferred to the spouse without adequate consideration, then income is to be clubbed in the hands of the spouse. Section 64 subsection 1 clause 4. Department applied that provision. Supreme Court ruled against the department. What Honorable Supreme Court said? Honorable Supreme Court said that relationship of husband and wife must subsist, must be there both at the time when income accrued and at the time when transfer is made. When transfer was made, legally those were not husband and wife. When dividend was received in future, these were husband and wife. But on 15th December, these were not husband and wife. So to attract clubbing, it is necessary that at the time of accruing the income as well as at the time of transferring the asset, the relationship must subsist. That's it. You got the concept or not? So clubbing was rejected by the Honorable Supreme Court, and on those shares, Philip paid the tax, not Judith. Point clear or not? Is this case clear? Please raise your hand. To attract clubbing between husband and wife, relationship of husband and wife must subsist both at the time of transfer as well as at the time of income which is accrued. First case was over. Second now. Another case. CIT versus BC Srinivasa Setti, 1981, Volume 5, Taxman, Honorable Supreme Court. This case also goes into the favor of the assessee. What happened in that case? Assessee transferred goodwill of a newly commenced business. Assessee transferred goodwill of a newly commenced business. Department taxed that goodwill of a newly commenced business in the hands of the assessee. If you remember the clubbing chapter, goodwill of a business is a self-generated asset which generated on its own, where its cost of acquisition is nil, and you have to compute capital gain. Do you know why Act says this? After this court ruling, after this honorable court ruling, Income Tax Act was amended to include this point. The assessee firm's goodwill was valued at 1,50,000. Department said that when this goodwill is sold, you should show this as income under the head capital gain. But assessee said, Mr. Shetty said, sale does not constitute income under the head capital gain. He was saying that selling goodwill is not a capital asset. Department says it is a capital asset. You have to include 1,50,000 as your income under the head capital gain. What Honorable Supreme Court says? Supreme Court says that, I will tell you only relevant points. Supreme Court says that, of course, it is an asset. Supreme Court says, yes, goodwill is an asset of the business. But what is to be determined is whether it is an asset contemplated by Section 45 or not. Because Section 45 deals with clubbing. Honorable Supreme Court says that to tax the income under the head capital gain, date of acquisition of an asset is material factor. You must know when you acquired the asset. Otherwise, how will you do indexation? You must know the date of acquisition of the asset. Otherwise, indexation also will not be possible. But in this case, when goodwill is generated on its own, it is really impossible to exactly tell the date because it is a regular process. It builds regular basis on regular basis. More you work hard, more you spend the time, your goodwill is built. So Honorable Supreme Court said that it is not possible to determine the date on which goodwill came into existence. And that is why it is not possible to exactly, and not only this is possible, not only this is impossible to determine the exact date when goodwill came into existence, it is also impossible to exactly compute the cost of acquisition because it built on its own. So Honorable Supreme Court said that goodwill generated in a newly commenced business cannot be described as an asset under Section 45, and that is why its gain is not at all taxable under the head capital gains. This ruling went into the favor of the assessee. After this Income Tax Act was amended, and now specifically it is mentioned that goodwill of a business is taxable under the head capital gain because of this ruling. Please raise your, that is why these are known as leading cases which changed either act or something substantial change was done. If this ruling is also clear, please raise your hand. Next point. So I have discussed two cases, so it won't take much time. Next point. It would have taken more of your time had you studied these yourself. CIT versus Alps Theatre. CIT versus Alps Theatre, 1967 ruling, 65 volume, ITR, Income Tax Reporter magazine, page number 377, Honorable Supreme Court. This case went into the favor of the department. The assessee Messrs. Alps Theatre was into the business of exhibition of films. They charged depreciation on cost of land as well as on cost of building. Income tax department said only depreciation on building is allowed, not on cost of land. Case went to the Supreme Court. Honorable Supreme Court also said that the word building clearly means. Honorable Supreme Court said that land cannot depreciate, and the word building clearly means structures and does not include the site. That is why land cannot be depreciated. So this case went into the favor of the department. Please raise your hand if this point is also clear. This is third case which I have discussed. Very good. Next point. Next case. Gestetner Duplicators Private Limited versus CIT. Honorable Supreme Court ruling 1979, page or volume 117 ITR, page number 1. Supreme Court decided in favor of the assessee. What was the issue basically? Do the relevant points only. This company was a businessman assessee. Company was claiming deduction under section 36 subsection 1 clause 4. If you remember 36(1)(4), it is related to employer's contribution towards recognized provident fund of the employee. If you remember 36(1)(4), it talks about employer's contribution towards RPF of the employee. So this company was showing in the P&L account two employers contribution towards RPF of the employee, that is allowed as deduction. But in that contribution, what they took, the company took some percentages of salary. RPF में यही होता है, 10% of salary or 12% of salary. Company took some percentage of salary as employer's contribution. For example, if employee's salary is 10 lakh rupees per year, maybe company says that 12% of this 10 lakh, which is 1 lakh 20, we will give you. And they have shown 1 lakh 20, which they have given as employer's contribution towards RPF, debit side. It is fine. There is no problem. It is absolutely fine. It is an expenditure. It is like salary to the employees. If not in cash, maybe through other form. It is fine. There is no problem. But when they computed this value of 1,20,000, 1,20,000 is not in the case. This is my example. When they computed this value, they included variable commission also. The company was giving commission based on fixed percentage of turnover achieved by the employee. While giving something in their recognized provident fund, whatever commission was earned by the employee, company took that commission also into consideration and then computed the amount which will go into the RPF of the employee. Department rejected that. Department says this commission does not form part of salary for the purpose of computing deduction for employer's contribution towards RPF. They say that this is not a part of salary, but Honorable Supreme Court said commission based on fixed percentage is nothing but a salary. This is what the Honorable Supreme Court language is. Whenever commission is based on fixed percentage of turnover achieved by the employee, then this is nothing but salary. And this is the only reason that whenever we compute exemption of house rent allowance, provident fund, new pension scheme, leave encashment, etc., always we say what? Salary means basic plus DA forming part plus commission based on fixed percentage of turnover achieved by the employee. That commission based on fixed percentage of turnover achieved by the employee is because of this court ruling. Because of Honorable Supreme Court ruling in 1979, the commission based on fixed percentage of the employee was treated as nothing but salary. That's it. Please raise your hand if this case is also clear. Only two cases are left now. Now you need to study also. Next case. Do you remember while determining the expected rent, how we determine expected rent in a house property? Municipal value or fair rent higher or standard rent lower? Do you know why we say higher or standard rent lower? Because of this court ruling of Sheila Koshish versus CIT 1981, page number, volume 7, Taxman, page 1, Supreme Court decided in favor of the SSC. This Honorable Supreme Court said that while computing annual value of house, expected rent can never exceed the standard rent. Earlier we were saying municipal or fair higher, that's it. After this ruling, now it has become a trend, or it has become necessary to say that higher or standard, lower is the expected rent. At that time in 1981, Act was different. I have written this. At that time, only this language was written. There was no such word that rent received is more than expected rent because of vacancy, rent received less than expected rent because of vacancy, etc. Nothing was written. Only this one line was the annual value, sum for which the property might reasonably be expected to let from year to year. That is nothing but expected rent. I hope you are getting my point. At that time, only this point was written. Case went to the Supreme Court, where Income Tax Department, now this owned, Sheila Koshi owned a warehouse at Delhi and she let out to an embassy. While determining the annual value of 1968-69, Income Tax Department took actual rent. Actual. Sheila Koshi said that why you are taking actual rent? Because Act says that expected rent, take expected, don't take actual. Sheila said don't take actual. Department says we will take actual. Case went to the Supreme Court. And what they said? Supreme Court ruled in favor of the SSC. Court says don't take actual rent because Act doesn't say this. So there was a long argument given. I'm not reading the entire point. And to tackle this issue, where the cases deal with only expected rent, not actual, where assessors wanted to say that only expected rent should be the annual value, not actual. What department did? This section was amended. This section was amended. Though this Supreme Court ruling came in the year 1981, क्योंकि केस तो 1968-67 से चल रहा था, केस तो काफी पुराना चल रहा था, कोर्ट में तो केसेस आने में काफी सालों लगते हैं इंडिया में तो. In 1975, government brought one amendment act, Tax Laws Amendment Act 1975, and then they added step 2. So they modified 21, 23, section 23. Earlier it was only this expected rent. Now what they said, actual rent where the property is let, and if actual rent exceeds expected rent, then actual rent should be taken as annual value. And because of this ruling, now we are saying that expected rent is what? Municipal or where higher or standard rent lower. Honorable Supreme Court said that expected rent can never exceed standard rent. Because of that Honorable Supreme Court ruling, expected rent is now correctly calculated. And as far as those issues are concerned, actual should be taken or not. Income Tax Act was amended in 1975, where it was mentioned in the act that if actual is higher than expected, actual has to be taken. Please raise your hand if this case is also clear. This is very important case. So many times it has been asked in the examination. And now the last case, then I will last case. It is lengthy case, but I will discuss briefly. Agricultural income case. It will take 5 to 7 minutes more. The last case. CIT versus Raja Binay Kumar Sahas Roy, 1957. Volume 32, ITR magazine, 466 page, Supreme Court. What was the case basically? It was related to agricultural, because agricultural income in India is what? Tax free. Assessee had 6,000 एकड़ का उसके पास जंगल का लैंड था. Assessee had 6,000 acres of forest land, where so many trees grows automatically. They do not need the help of humans. जंगल में क्या होता है, कोई इंसान नहीं जाता वहां, अपने आप ही पेड़ गिरते रहते हैं, बारिश में बड़े होते रहते हैं, फिर टूट जाते हैं आंधी तूफान में, फिर गिरते हैं, बड़े रहते हैं. सो द फॉरेस्ट वाज ऑफ स्पॉन्टेनियस ग्रोथ. अपने आप होता था, नॉट ग्रोन बाय द एड ऑफ ह्यूमन स्किल एंड लेबर. कोई काम नहीं करते थे इंसान, बट दीज पीपल वर डूइंग. लकड़ियां जरूर वहां से उठा ले जाते थे और बेच देते थे उसको मार्केट में, बट दे वर नॉट हेल्पिंग इन ग्रोइंग द फॉरेस्ट. व्हेन इन एनी किसी आंधी तूफान में, because of excess rain etc, some trees have fallen, so fallen trees have to be removed. So human was removing that, the owner with the help of labor was removing those trees which have been fallen and selling those trees in the market. Because of selling of those trees in the assessment year 1944-45, आजादी से पहले, assessee had huge income. 150 साल से वो काम हो रहा था वहां पर. लकड़ियां गिरती थी, पेड़ गिरते थे, कटती थी लकड़ियां, बिकती थी, तब किसी ने कुछ नहीं कहा. 1945 में कुछ ज्यादा ही पेड़ गिर गए होंगे, इनकम कुछ ज्यादा ही हो गई. And assessee showed that income as agricultural, and assessee showed that my income is tax free. Department says no, it is not an agricultural income. That was the issue. गिरे हुए पेड़ों की वजह से जो इनकम हो रही थी, सालों से हो रही थी, कोई ऑब्जेक्शन नहीं था किसी को. 1944-45 में कुछ ज्यादा ही हो गई. Assessee said that it is agriculture. इनका डिपार्टमेंट says no, इसमें एग्रीकल्चर क्या है, लकड़ियां तो बेच रहे हो आप काट के, गिरे हुए पेड़ों की, एग्रीकल्चर इनकम नहीं, टैक्स पे करो. दिस वाज द मेन इशू. नाउ व्हाट हैपेंड? नाउ सुप्रीम कोर्ट सेज ये होता क्या है एग्रीकल्चरल और नॉन एग्रीकल्चरल. सुप्रीम कोर्ट रेड एंड फाउंड दैट मीनिंग ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर, उस वक्त एक्ट में लिखा नहीं हुआ था, agriculture and agricultural purposes is not defined in the income tax act. So if it is not defined, we have to frame some general definition. So honorable Supreme Court said there are two operations, one basic, one subsequent. What is basic operation? Direct खेती बाड़ी करना, वो एक basic operation है. Plant the crops, plant the seeds basically is basic operation. But then when the seeds will become the crop, cut the crop and keep and make that crop ready for sale in the market is subsequent operation. So what is basic operation? Planting the seeds. Subsequent operation, making that product available for sale in the market, is subsequent operation. This is what Honorable Supreme Court said. Then what? सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने दो क्वेश्चन अपने आप से ही किए, किसी और से नहीं किए. कोर्ट्स ने अपने आप से पूछा कि यार ये है क्या चीज. फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन विच सुप्रीम कोर्ट आस्क्ड टू इटसेल्फ वाज this question, and then this question. I'm not going to read these two questions for you. You can read these yourself. I will tell you only the relevant points. After discussion, Supreme Court came to the conclusion that agriculture includes not only basic operation but subsequent operation. This is what Honorable Supreme Court said. So agriculture includes basic, which are directly anyone can have a look and say that no, this is agricultural activity going on, and some subsequent operation which only person who will read and study, that person can say that no, it is subsequent operation. नहीं तो कुछ लोग ये कहेंगे जब कोई किसान खेतों में काम करता है वही एग्रीकल्चर है बस, उसके बाद उस प्रोडक्ट को सफाई से बेचना वो एग्रीकल्चर नहीं है. बट सुप्रीम कोर्ट सेड नो, agriculture includes basic operation as well as subsequent operations. This is first point. And Supreme Court said that human labor is required in subsequent operation as well as basic. इन दोनों कामों में आपको इंसानों की जरूरत पड़ती है, whether these are subsequent operations or basic operations. Now what? So let me tell you the relevant point. This paragraph is relevant, which will clear most of the points. The answer to this question is the products which grow wild on the land or the products are of spontaneous growth not involving, अपने आप ही पेड़ उग जाते थे, गिर जाते थे. These are not products of agriculture. This is what the question is. These are not products of agriculture. Yes, that is clear. उसमें कोई एग्रीकल्चर है नहीं, अपने आप पेड़ हो रहे हैं, गिर रहे हैं, कोई एग्रीकल्चर नहीं हो रहा, कोई ह्यूमन इन्वॉल्व नहीं है उसमें. These are not products of agriculture and income derived therefrom is not the agriculture income. This is what is decided by the Supreme Court. पेड़ों का अपने आप उग जाना और गिर जाना कोई एग्रीकल्चरल इनकम नहीं है. दैट इज नॉट एग्रीकल्चरल इनकम. देयर इज नो प्रोसेस ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर इन्वॉल्व्ड इन रेजिंग ऑफ दीज प्रोडक्ट्स फ्रॉम द लैंड. वो पेड़ अपने आप होते थे विदाउट एनी ह्यूमन इंटरवेंशन, बिकॉज सुप्रीम कोर्ट वन थिंग हैज डिसाइडेड दैट ह्यूमन लेबर इज रिक्वायर्ड इन बेसिक ऑपरेशन एज वेल एज सब्सिक्वेंट ऑपरेशन. तो जब इंसानों की जरूरत ही नहीं है तो वो एग्रीकल्चर नहीं है. Supreme Court says there are no agricultural operations performed by the assessee in respect of the same. The only work which the assessee performs here is of collecting the produce and consuming and marketing the same. वो सिर्फ उसको बेचता था. पेड़ अपने आप उगते थे, उसमें कोई एग्रीकल्चर नहीं है. But selling of produce, this is what assessor was doing. No agricultural operations have been performed and there is no question at all of income derived being agriculture. Supreme Court ने कहा कि ये agriculture income नहीं है. This is what Honorable Supreme Court ruled. This is not the agricultural income. But what happened? So पेड़ों का गिरना, पेड़ों का अपने आप बड़ा होना और गिर जाना, that is not agricultural income. ये sure है. Where, however, the assessee performs subsequent operations on these products of land which are of wild or spontaneous growth, the nature of those operations would have to be determined on case-to-case basis. But assessee was performing subsequent operations. Assessee didn't plant the seeds. So crops or trees generated on their own, that is not agriculture. But Supreme Court says that subsequent operations are also agriculture and assessee was doing subsequent operation. क्या करता था उसमें? पेड़, गिरे हुए पेड़ों को काटता था और मार्केट में बेचता था. Now here also Supreme Court ruled that whether subsequent operations are agricultural or not, that depends on case to case basis. उसका भी कोई फिक्स क्राइटेरिया नहीं है कि हर subsequent operation agricultural है. No. In the present case, Supreme Court says कि case to case basis पे चेक करना पड़ेगा कि subsequent operation agricultural है या नहीं. In the present case, the forest in question was of spontaneous growth, and if there were no other facts found, that will entail the conclusion that income is not an agricultural income. यहाँ भी उसने कहा कि जब spontaneous growth अपने आप हो रही है तो ये sure है कि वो agricultural income नहीं है. Still what Supreme Court says, but the forest is 150 years old. 50 साल पुराना forest है, and portion of the forest or trees time to time have been denuded. That means trees have completely fallen. पेड़ गिरे हैं उसमें और proprietors ने fresh पेड़ लगाए हैं. And the proprietors have planted fresh trees in those areas. So this becomes agriculture. अगर वो सिर्फ 10 साल पुराना forest होता, पेड़ अपने आप उगे हैं और अपने आप गिरे हैं. But the forest is 150 years old. What Supreme Court assumed or said that during this 150 years, some care was taken in those forests. Some care was work was performed by the businessman, by that assessee in this forest. 150 साल के बाद वो forest अगर ठीक ठाक है तो उसमें कुछ ना कुछ काम हुआ होगा. कुछ fresh पेड़ लगाए गए हैं उसमें. And planting trees becomes agriculture. And not only fresh trees have been planted, they have performed operations for nursing the trees. उनको ध्यान में भी रखा गया है. So what Supreme Court ने कहा, it cannot be denied that so far those trees are concerned, income is agriculture. पूरी forest की income agriculture नहीं है, but that portion of the forest where new trees have been planted, nursing and care was taken care was provided to those plants, that is agricultural. But since now what Supreme Court says, since the forest is 150 years old So we can say that there is a substantial portion of the forest which has been taken care of seriously by the SSC by planting more trees and taking care of nursing also. So you cannot say that that is negligible. मतलब उस फॉरेस्ट में काफी पोर्शन ऐसा है जिसमें मेहनत की गई है, एग्रीकल्चर का काम हुआ है, प्लांट लगाए गए हैं, उनका ध्यान में रखा गया है. Supreme Court says one thing is sure, 100% income is not agriculture. The position therefore is that whole of the income derived from the forest cannot be non-agricultural. Neither cannot be not agricultural, nor it can be agricultural. ना तो पूरे फॉरेस्ट की इनकम एग्रीकल्चर कही जा सकती, ना पूरे फॉरेस्ट की इनकम नॉन एग्रीकल्चर कही जा सकती. That portion of the forest where seeds were planted and care was provided for the trees, that is agricultural, remaining is non-agricultural. अब ये पता लगाना जरूरी है. It is necessary to know how much income is to the forest of spontaneous growth, जो पेड़ अपने आप होते थे वो एग्रीकल्चर नहीं है, but how much income is for those trees which are planted by proprietor, जो पेड़ प्रोप्राइटर ने लगाए और वो गिरे और उनकी लकड़ियां अगर बिकी, वो एग्रीकल्चर है. But since department has, this is what Supreme Court said, but since department has incomplete information, the records of the income tax department cannot show how much is income is towards that spontaneous growth trees जो अपने आप हुए non agriculture and how much to the trees planted by proprietors. और वो इनकम जो ट्रीज प्रोप्राइटर ने प्लांट किए थे वो इनकम, ये दोनों अलग अलग है. Income of trees which are of spontaneous growth, that is non-agricultural. Income of trees which are planted by the assessee, that is agricultural. But since you don't have the records, so benefit of doubt is given to the assessee and it is treated as this income is non-agricultural income. That is the case. सिर्फ उसमें बेनिफिट ऑफ डाउट मिला assessee को और ये मान लिया गया द इनकम इज नॉन एग्रीकल्चरल इनकम. तो इस पूरे डिसीजन से सिर्फ 3 पॉइंट ही आपको याद रखने हैं. Income from basic as well as subsequent operations can be agricultural. Does not depend upon the nature of product. सिर्फ fruit vegetable होने जरूरी नहीं है, पेड़ भी हो सकते हैं. Any activity having some connection with land is not necessarily agricultural. That's it. This is my technical case. If it is clear little bit, please raise your hand. When you if you read this case from my book, you will find it very interesting, but if you have any other book, that is also fine. With this, I come to the end of the chapter, or not the chapter, basically entire course of Income Tax Act. I wish you all the best for your examination, and I recorded these lectures just to make sure that there may be so many people or so many students who are having very less or low bandwidth connection at their home, they cannot attend the live lectures. Unfortunately, we have seen one student, young girl also, who has committed suicide because the fees were not being afforded by the parents and the lectures were not made available in the form of recording. So just to save this precious life, I decided that why not to record the lecture of income tax when I'm teaching to these students. So these can be beneficial little bit. I'm not saying that these will be beneficial, but these at least will provide some helping hand for all those who are suffering because of COVID-19 and cannot attend the online lecture. So it will save their precious amount also, money also, as well as it will help them that at least they have understood some point of tax. With this, I wish you all the best and goodbye. Thanks.